Little Yellow Flower sat alone in the grass and cried. "I wish it could be yesterday again," she wept, and she bent her head low to the ground. Sugar Ant heard Little Yellow Flower crying and came over to see what was the matter. But Little Yellow Flower would not say a word. "You are going to get a crooked stem unless you straighten up," said Sugar Ant. When Little Yellow Flower did not answer, Sugar Ant stretched out an antenna and with a mischievous grin began to tickle Little Yellow Flower's stem. Of course, Little Yellow Flower began to giggle, and her stem began to wiggle in spite of itself. Sugar Ant sat down beside her and sighed happily. "That's much better. Yellow flowers are supposed to be happy." "I want to be happy, Sugar Ant, but how can I be now? Oh, I wish it were yesterday." "You wish it were yesterday? Why?" asked Sugar Ant, straightening his antenna. But Little Yellow Flower began to cry again, first one tear, then a second, and finally Sugar Ant had to move on to higher ground and could not talk to Little Flower any more. Now Sun had been watching from behind a cloudy veil. He watched his planets roll around him in their orbits. He watched the oceans reflecting his face. And he watched Little Yellow Flower become sadder and sadder until she had buried her pretty head in salty tears. Sun glimmered out from behind his cloudy veil to see more clearly what was the matter, and he whispered, "You are going to turn into a soggy weed unless you straighten up." When Little Yellow Flower did not answer, Sun cleared away all the clouds, and if Little Yellow Flower had looked up, she would have seen a sly but kind smile cross the face of the Sun. As he smiled warmly, Little Yellow Flower's puddle of tears began to shimmer and sparkle and dance. Little Yellow Flower finally straightened and stretched tall. Looking up, she saw that her evaporating tears had formed a rainbow over her head. Sun looked down expecting to see a smile on Little Yellow Flower's face, but instead he saw a sad, sad expression and the beginning of another pool of tears. "What is wrong?" asked Sun. "I wish it were yesterday," replied Little Yellow Flower. "You wish it were yesterday? Why?" But Little Yellow Flower was wilting, and Sun had to retreat behind his cloudy veil so that the flower would not collapse. As Earth rolled away from him, Sun blew the flower a kiss and left Little Yellow Flower to the night. Moon was stationed where she could see both Sun and Earth. From her perch, she saw Little Yellow Flower crying. When Sugar Ant tickled the flower and made her giggle, Moon laughed too, until the flower's tears flowed again, creating a new pool around her. Why, she wondered silently, does Little Yellow Flower wish it were yesterday? Moon wanted to have a talk with Little Yellow Flower, so she made a plan. She waited until her pull on the tides was at its strongest, and then caused Little Yellow Flower's tears to ebb as well. Normally, flowers close their petals at night, but this night the moon was unusually bright, and Little Yellow Flower turned her face to the heavens. Looking up, she realized the peaceful presence of gentle Moon. Moon began to hum softly, and soon Little Yellow Flower was humming along. When Little Yellow Flower had grown calm and contented, Moon spoke. "Little Yellow Flower, are you happy right now?" "I am happy," smiled Little Yellow Flower. "Do you still wish it were yesterday?" Little Yellow Flower stopped humming. "Yesterday," she replied, "there were so many little yellow flowers. We sang together and played in the wind together, and then—" Yes, the moon saw that melancholy was threatening to overcome Little Yellow Flower, so she exerted her maximum force and drew away the newly forming tears. "My friends lost their pretty yellow color. Their petals turned brown and fell off, and lumpy seed packets appeared instead. Their stems bent under the weight of the seeds until at last the packets burst open and the seeds inside were blown away by the wind." Moon wanted to continue the conversation, but she had forgotten how quickly she moves in her orbit. Already she was high in the night sky. Would Little Yellow Flower be able to hear her? As loudly as her soft voice would allow, Moon said, "I would like to stay with you, but my time is up. Tomorrow morning I want you to tell Sugar Ant and Sun what you just told me." Perhaps Moon said more, but she had drifted far away. So Little Yellow Flower closed her petals and waited for morning. "Good morning," said the sun. "Good morning," echoed Sugar Ant. Little Yellow Flower burst out, "I promised Moon that this morning I would tell you both what I told her last night." "What is it that you told Moon?" asked Sun and Sugar Ant, both in surprise. They noticed that Little Yellow Flower was looking a bit brown around the edges, and Sugar Ant tested the ground gingerly for signs of rising salt water. Little Yellow Flower replied, "Last night I told Moon why I wish it were yesterday. You see, I feel so alone without all the other yellow flowers. And I know I am changing, and I am afraid." "You were a late bloomer," said Sun, "so you do not remember spring. But I have seen thousands upon thousands of springtimes. When spring comes, sprouts emerge from covered seeds, and they push up to feel my warmth. Soon these seedlings grow into flowers. Later the flowers make seeds. That is their job. Then, when the time is right, wind scatters the seeds to places where they sleep during the winter, waiting for spring to come again." Sun spoke gently, for already Little Yellow Flower's petals were falling. "Thank you for telling me about spring," smiled Little Yellow Flower. Sugar Ant and Sun asked at the same time, "But do you still wish it were yesterday?" "No, I don't. I see now, dear Sun, that you have always warmed the ground for me and my friends. I know that you will do the same for my own seedlings tomorrow. I am grateful to you, Sugar Ant, for visiting those who are lonely. like I was. You are a messenger of hope. And Moon, although I cannot see you right now, I am happy to know that you are there, kind and caring. Now I am ready to do my part. That night, wind began to blow. Moon watched glistening seeds drift away from Little Yellow Flower's stem. When the seeds landed, wind blew blankets of loose soil over them. All winter, Sun kept the ground as warm as he could for seeds huddled and hidden below. In the meantime, Sugar Ant told everyone he met that soon they would be enjoying the most beautiful springtime ever.